Welcome back. In this video we are going to look at array lists, and we're going to use array lists quite a bit in our future project, so it's important to see how they are used and understand them. So they're used to create dynamic arrays, and arrays are types of collections, so we are going to use collections hereby. So why should you use an array lists? Well, array lists are used to create a dynamic array, which means the size of an array list can be increased or decreased according to your requirement. So it's not limited to a specific size, which is pretty cool. The ArrayList class provides both read and write functionality. Then the ArrayList follows the sequence of insertion order, so it matters when you put something in there. And an ArrayList is non-synchronized, and it may contain duplicate elements. So it's not going to be limited to one entry of the same thing, so to speak. The constructor of an array list looks like this. So either it is used to create an empty array list, so that's the basic constructor. Then you have another constructor where you can actually pass in the capacity, so you can say what the maximum amount of elements that can fit into this array list should be. And then you can create an array list based on a collection, so you can fill it with the elements of a collection and use it then as you need it. Examples of functions of array lists are, for example, the add function used to add the specific element into the collection. Then the clear function is used to remove all elements from a collection. The get function allows you to get an element as the specified index. So for example, if you want to have the 5th entry, you could enter index 4 in there and you would get that. And then the remove function is used to remove a single instance of the specific element from the current collection if it's available. And hereby I say a single instance. So let's say you have the value 5 multiple times in there, only the first 5 would be removed if you call this remove function with the value of 5. Then there are of course many more functions in the ArrayList class, and we're going to use multiple of them, but these are the most important ones. All right, let's have a look at an actual array list. So you can see we create an array list and we create it via the val keyword. So we're not using var here because even though the array list might be a val, so an immutable array list, it's still adjustable. So we cannot replace the array list object, but we can replace the content of this array list object. In this case, it's an array list object of type string, so we only can add strings in there. For example, the array list add 1 and then array list add 2. So I'm adding 1 and 2 to this array list, meaning the written words, and then we can print this array list by using the for in loop here. So for I in array list, we print I, and that will output 1 and 2. The array list using collections, let's have a look at that. We can see we have again the function main, and then we create an array list. This time we set this array list as being limited to 5 entries. So this is the one example where you can limit an array list to a certain amount of values. So here, this one. And then we have a list, which is a mutable list of strings. And we put values in there. And then we add all of those values to our array list. Then we use an array list iterator called itr in our case. And we say as long as this iterator has something, so as long as our array list has another entry in there, we want to run this while loop. So we're just printing itr next. So the next entry in our itr, which in this case means in the array list iterator, which pretty much means in the array list itself. And then we can also see that we can get the size of an array list by using its size property. So that will give us the following output: 1, 2, and then of course the size of array list is 2 because there are only 2 entries in there. Now let's look at the get function. So you can see we have this main function here again with. So then let's look at the get function. You can see again we have a main function here using an array list of strings, and then we add 1 and 2, and then we loop through it with this for loop. But we also use the get function here in order to see what we will get. So if I use get1, I will get 2. So this is a little confusing, but that has to do with the counting starting at 0. So the first entry here is going to be at index 0. The second entry will be at index 1. And what we're doing here is we are accessing index 1, which means we get the 2. And that's why the output is 2 in this case. All right, this was just a little introduction to ArrayLists. We're going to use them quite a bit, and then they will become natural as usual, so no worries there. It's like learning a new word in a foreign language. The more context you see this word in, the more it makes sense and the better of an understanding you get for this word. So see you in the next video.